If they wanted to argue for anything, if they wanted to earn it on the field, they should be arguing for the 2 model and maybe even a 2.5 model. Now, what would that look like? Now, that would be wild. Joel, let me just kind of discuss a 2.5 model for the Big 12 and the ACC. If you want to earn it on the field, if you want to take it out of the boardroom and you want the 16-team playoff, then let's go 4-4, 2.5, 2.5 for the ACC and the Big 12. Again, go watch YouTube. It's up right here on the screen. And then 1 for the group of 5, and then 2 at-large spots for Notre Dame and a second at-large team. Now, how do you do 2.5? That sounds crazy. Well, you actually do it quite easily by pitting, like, let's just say the 4th or 5th place team in each of the ACC and the Big 12 against each other. Maybe your play-in weekend is just against each other, and you're going to have 5 spots total, and 3 of them are going to go to the ACC and 2 of them the Big 12, or on any given year, depending on how those matchups go, on the field, you would get 3 or 2. So you would have 2.5 spots. So basically, you're saying, hey, between the ACC and the Big 12, we're going to split 5 at-large spots. So that's how you get to 2.5. In that case, you would be guaranteeing yourself at a minimum 2 spots every year and the potential for a third versus arguing for a model that you would only in most years get 1. Again, I'm going to read this quote again. He says, "We don't want any gimmies. We want to earn it on the field." How in the world is putting this sport in the committee's hands, earning it on the field? And I know that, like, I'm getting kind of like worked up about this. Again, Brett is incredibly smart. He has done so many smart things with the Big 12. In a lot of ways, saved that conference, beat the Pac-12 to the negotiating table with networks in order to save that conference. He grew that conference. He's made them more relevant. They're a really good conference, a deep conference. Going to a 5-11 model would kill the Big 12. It would absolutely kill them. It would coalesce the power in the SEC and the Big 10. It would put this on the propaganda machine conveyor belt where we'd get analytics packet from the ACC or from the SEC telling us how their 8-game conference schedule is so much more difficult than everybody else's 9-game conference schedule. It's just like, again, let's just go to some objectives here. Let's try to talk about this in more objective terms. Let's bring up this. What should our objectives be in the college football playoff? Okay? So, 1, I want this sport to be better for the fans. So, I've got 6 things that I think should be taken into account if you're going to fix the college football, change the college football playoff, do anything with the playoff. Okay? So, let's call these like Klatt's objectives for the CFP. If we're going to change the CFP, then they've got to hit on all of these objectives. Okay, here are the 6 objectives. Number 1, increase fan base engagement. Number 2, increase meaningful games. Number 3, increase valuable non-conference games in the regular season. Number 4, minimize or eliminate the college football playoff committee. Number 5, define a clear path to the playoff for everybody in the sport. And number 6, keep more conferences relevant, not less conferences relevant. Those are the objectives. If you hit on every one of these objectives, then every fan in college football is served to some degree. And if you just put that as a measuring stick and you take a look at all of these models of playoff, the 5-11 playoff model fails on every single front on these objectives. Okay, so increase fan base engagement. Well, as I've talked about in some of the previous models that they've thrown out there in the 16-team playoff, you would increase fan base engagement by increasing the probability that your team is playing meaningful games for the playoff late into the season. Okay, but in the 5-11 model, we're going to have rankings every week. And so we're going to kind of know. So you're going to minimize the teams that feel like they actually have a relevant, defined path towards getting in. And in particular, if you play in the, quote, wrong conference that doesn't have propaganda-driven analytics telling you why they're better than everybody else and why they can have 4 losses and you can only have 1. So So again, like that's not great for fan base engagement. Meanwhile, in some of those previous models, I was talking about play-in weekends and the opportunity to just finish in the top 6 in some of your conferences, or top 4 in some of your conferences, which means that even more teams than the 6 or the 4 in some of those conferences would be engaged late into November, playing games with meaningful implications on their spot in the standings. Obviously, that would be better. Okay, let's talk about increasing meaningful games. If we had a play-in weekend within conferences or even between conferences, however you wanted to play it out, then basically what you're doing is you're starting play-in games. Those are meaningful games. If we have a 5-11 model, we don't get any of those. So we miss out on this idea where we would have the third place team in the Big Ten playing the sixth place team in the Big Ten with the right to go to the playoff on the line, earning it on the field, not in a boardroom. With the 4-5 game, same in the SEC, similar model in the ACC and the Big 12, played on the field. So we would be increasing meaningful games in college football deep into the season, into the first week of December. The 5-11 model doesn't do that, fails. So in every other plan, in the first two objectives, the other models work, 5-11 model fail. How about the third one? Increase valuable non-conference games. If this sport is solely in the boardroom and the committee is deciding who goes and who doesn't, then we're going to have what has happened in the past, which is ADs and teams are going to get rid of their valuable non-conference games like Nebraska and Tennessee just did. Why? Because it's just more important that you have a win versus who you played. So your strength of schedule in the non-conference isn't really reliable to the committee. They've never shown the reliability of honoring those types of things. They've been all over the map in terms of one year honoring something and the next year kind of changing the criteria. So we're going to lose valuable non-conference games in the regular season. So 5-11 model, fail. What about number 4? Minimize or eliminate the committee. That's got to be an objective because nobody wants all of this committee-driven drama late into the season where we're politicking, where we're giving analytics packets. 5-11 model, fail. Define the path is the 5th objective. Define a clear path. Well, in the previous models, we know exactly where we need to get to in the regular season within our conference standings in order to get into a play-in game, to get to a point where we know we have 60 minutes to go to the college football playoff. I have no idea if it's the committee. We're just sitting there and we're like, well, we hope. We hope. So the 5th objective, 5-11 model, fail. And then lastly, keep more conferences relevant. This is important for the health of the sport moving forward. It's important that the ACC remain relevant. It's important that the Big 12 remain relevant. And yet, as I just touched on earlier, if you go 5-11, the power will coalesce in the Big 12, or excuse me, the Big 10 and the SEC. Those conferences will get more participants into the playoff, not less participants, which means they will generate more revenue, which means they will generate more power, which means that fork in the road and the divide between all the conferences is going to grow. So 5-11 model, how does that keep more conferences relevant? It doesn't. Fail. So in every single objective that would make the sport better for the fan, the 5-11 model fails. Fails. It falls short of the other models. So far be it from me to disagree with smart people. And Brett Yormark, you are a smart group. But to suggest that the 5-11 model is, as you said, good for college football, it's what's fair, we don't want gimmies, and we want to earn it on the field, I don't see how that works. I don't see how that works at all. If I were the Big 12 or the ACC, I would take a 14-team playoff with 2 guaranteed spots right now. And if you were desperate to move it to 16, like it seems out of maybe the Big 10 and some of these other conferences, then my argument would not be for 11 at-large spots, which is going to hurt the Big 12. It would be for 2.5. Okay, give the ACC and the Big 12 5 spots, not 4. That's how I would approach these negotiations. But the 5-11 model is, if we go down that route, I think it will fail. I think that's about as point blank as I can possibly be. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.